There are few fan bases as loyal as the Tennessee Volunteers followers. Without much hardware to note since 1998, they've still supported by land and sea. Shout out to the Vol Navy. They've kissed many frogs that have never turned into their true prince. But every Saturday they were there, hoping and wishing. Now look, they're 1-16 in their last 17 outings against SEC East foe Florida. And don't get me started on their record against Alabama lately. But battling through the Kiffin departure, Butch Jones tearing down the program brick by brick, and Jeremy Pruitt selling double cheeseburgers with extra cheese, Tennessee looked like they were lost in the darkness. But enter athletic director Danny White, who hired Josh Heupel from UCF under an NCAA cloud, and it seemed like Tennessee was going to be left adrift forever. And Heupel was just a stopgap to the guy who would eventually bring the Vols back to the spotlight. But as it turns out so far, Heupel might be the prince they've been waiting for. Tennessee's off to an undefeated start. They have a quarterback in Hendon Hooker who's operating Heupel's NASCAR-paced offense at a very high efficiency rate. And they've added much-needed depth on the defense to be able to not fall off a cliff at the end of games. Tennessee is actually ahead of schedule. And the numbers don't lie either. They rank number 2 nationally in points per game offensively, while checking in at number 14 defensively. They're top 10 in points per play and yards per game. They're 100% in scoring efficiency in the red zone, while they're top 30 in red zone defense. Add all that up, and Tennessee's just good where it counts, on the scoreboard and in the red zone. Now, outside of the numbers, the feel when Tennessee plays doesn't feel like they just hope to win anymore, but they expect it. Long story short, the false hope is gone, and the high expectations are actually attainable. Now, the season is still young, and many things can happen. But after dispatching a good Pitt team on the road, a win against Florida at home would be another step back to prominence for the Vols. Tennessee seems to not only be back, but it looks like they're here to stay. Speaking about here to stay, David Cohn, my co-host, former Michigan quarterback, Blaine Crane, my brother, former Western Colorado wide receiver. Guys, listen, I know it's still early, but watching Tennessee, the things you see there now, and it's wholesome. It's not just the football team. Stability. Danny White has come in there and brought stability to a place that lacked stability for a very long time. And the team, they look more balanced this year. They have a very similar identity. It seems like he's got the culture where he needs it. And my biggest question with Heupel was running that style of offense, going that fast. With the thin numbers they had on defense last year, you kind of saw it, especially at the end of games, them struggle on defense because they were tired, especially if the offense wasn't just operating perfectly in the first half. It seems like they found somewhat of a balance between that fast-paced offense and being able to stop people defensively. You do look at against the run. I wish they were a little more solid, but this Tennessee team looks for real, David.
Yeah, no, and I'm so glad you pointed out the athletic department writ large, because the baseball team, look, I mean, we know they came up short of going to Omaha, but that program
future's
in
bright.
the right direction. I had Tennessee winning the March Madness in the NCAA tournament. They won the SEC tournament. The entire athletic department is headed in the right direction. It feels good for Tennessee fans for the Josh Heupel hire to be right. You know, like after all that this program has gone through, for that hire to finally get one right, for him to be headed in the right direction, and also to be interesting on offense. Like, it's electric. It's fun to watch. It's not like you're having to look around the rest of the country or even the rest of the conference at other offenses who are innovative and who are having success. Now you're like, no, we're doing that too. And I think that they are getting the defensive side of the football right. And here's the next 3 games stretch here, Jake. Florida, LSU, and Bama.
Yeah.
Florida, LSU,
all
and
three
Bama.
winnable games.
Well, yeah, okay.
Well, they do get Bama at home. Like I said, I think they got a lot better chance to beat Bama at home than Georgia on the road. I'll continue to say that. But Blaine, you know, when I look at Tennessee and we look at recruiting, right? We talked about, like yesterday, I led off the show with talent. It beats play calling. I'd rather have a ton of talent and have a guy that calls plays normally than have no talent, have a guy that's got a witchcraft and wizardry his way to move things. It's like recruiting in basketball. Guys want to play offensively for a team that runs. You know, transition's a lot more fun in basketball. Let's get it, let's run. Let's get in transition, whether it's a steal, even off a make, let's get it back in bounds and let's get running. Tennessee is kind of, like Cohn was saying, separated themselves in a league where it's hard to separate yourself without being gimmicky. That offense doesn't look gimmicky to me anymore.
No, I mean Heupel's got it down to a T, and Hendon Hooker's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back to look when he started. I mean, the guy's thrown almost like 30 touchdowns.
He hadn't thrown an interception all year.
No interceptions. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and it looks comfortable, and they believe, and it's a sexy offense. It really is. From a guy being a receiver, I would love to go play in this offense.
Yeah.
And Jake, what was always your biggest question about Tennessee? It wasn't the offense, but if it was the tempo of the offense affecting
how it affects the defense.
The defense, and the defense has somewhat showed up this year. And these next 3 games will be interesting. I think they're a better team than Florida. I think they're a better team than LSU. And I think this will be their best chance this year to beat an Alabama team that's extremely good, but still has some question marks. I had Tennessee being the 3rd best team in the SEC. Mm-hmm. It's still early. I still want to see them against Arkansas. I feel like those teams are more equal than the Kentuckys. I still don't believe in the Kentucky offense as much as a lot of people. But Arkansas and Tennessee are in that same realm right now. LSU is coming on. But Tennessee can make some noise in this conference. They're not better in Georgia, but nobody is. But these next 3 games are extremely winnable for the Tennessee Volunteers.
All right, guys. It's Wednesday. We got to get off my lawn later. But I'm going to go to the Booster Club before we get to 5 big questions. Come, Blaine, what's going on?
All right, let's go to Emmanuel C. And yes, Booster Club, I shaved my beard.
He did.
Thank you. $12 donation from the one and only Emmanuel C. He says, will Brock Bowers in the 2024 NFL Draft be a number 1, number 2, or number 3 pick overall? Higher than Kyle Pitts? Bar setup for tight end at 4 overall?
I would take Brock Bowers over Kyle Pitts. I think he's a better player and can do more things. I tell you what, you look at the Mayer kid from Notre Dame as well. That offense isn't great because they really don't have a quarterback, but that dude's a baller. Mm-hmm. Like, he's nice. He's like somebody that goes to the Bills, and ends up balling. That's what I see with like Mayer. But with Brock, I wouldn't go number 1 pick. A lot of times that's going to go to a quarterback or some defensive end that's an absolute alien. He's going to be a top 5 pick, though. Somebody's going to take him top 5. Again, when you look at a skill set, I always say the 2 hardest things to find in football to me are a tight end that can do both, that is an effective blocker in line, effective blocker outside, and can catch passes and run routes. Those guys don't really exist that much. Mm-hmm. And then on the defensive side, what is the tight end of the defense? It's the nickel. That's what it is. You got to be able to defend the run and man up and guard the slot. Yeah. Dax Hill from Michigan, great example. It's harder to find those guys, but that's just how it is in life. It's harder to find people that are great at multiple things within one profession or one thing you need them to
Jabril Peppers, too, was one of the best I've ever seen do it. And then on top of that, returning punts and kicks. And that's the thing I think about when I think of Brock Bowers is the versatility. Not only doing everything you're talking about.
He can play running back.
Like, Cooper Kupp on the jet sweep helped the Rams win the Super Bowl last year, right?
Best.
You can give Brock Bowers a jet sweep and go get you a 4th and 1.
That's exactly.
Like the ways that Georgia's finding to use this kid and the NFL teams are going to find to use his skill set. I'm just excited to watch his future.
Yeah, we talk about calling plays and stuff. Todd Monken looks like a genius. Well, give me the cats that he's rolling out there. What did you say?
That's what my
about
buddy
the zone read? Say that again.
My buddy Nick was coaching at Tennessee, and he says, I'm calling the same zone read that Alabama's calling, but theirs looks a lot different.
Yeah. All right, hey, if you like what you heard, go ahead and ring that bell. Turn those notifications on. We're bringing it every day, daily from 2 to 3 Central, and we want you here. I can hear it ringing now.